unnecessary distraction where with the current situation in the country.
Leadership TV for God and country. Leadership TV for God and country.
Hello, everyone. You're welcome to Leadership Podcast. It's another edition of the big issue. And of course, without taking much of a time, we are going to go into the big issue of the day, which is the state of the nation and Nigeria's involvement in the crisis in Benin Republic. As usual, I'm your regular host, and then with me here in the studio is our very special guest, talking of a human rights activist and chairman campaign for democracy, human rights advocacy, civil society of Nigeria, North Central Zone, Dr. Abdullahi Mohammed Jabi. Well, Dr. Abdullahi Mohammed Jabi is also a security expert. Of course, he is actually going to be addressing some of the issues. Today, you're welcome, Dr. Jabi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
All right.
I'm happy to be here again.
Well, the current state of the nation is that of despair. The recent removal of subsidy on petroleum products has plunged the country into untold hardship. Nigerians are grappling with the idea of survival itself, following the hike in the price of fuel. Prices of foodstuffs, food items have actually gone up, leaving the citizens with no option than to scratch just to survive. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his broadcast last week, had come out to say that the hardship is momentary, that his administration is doing what it can do to cushion the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. And just 2 days ago, also, the Nigerian Labour Congress, or organized labor in the country, embarked on a nationwide protest. And just as that protest was going to lead into a nationwide strike, a meeting between the leaders of the organized labor and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the presidential villa was what it took to end the industrial action. Although Labour had asked the government to withdraw its summons in court within 7 days or face another protest. But while Nigerians are looking up to the organized labor to push for the amelioration of the current situation in the country, the Nigerian government, led by President Tinubu, is actually undertaking another very crucial assignment outside the shores of the country. The country is completely involved in the coup in Benin Republic, where the military junta
Niger.
You mean in Niger Republic, in the Republic of Niger, where the military junta have taken over the realms of power. And President Tinubu, in his capacity as chairman of ECOWAS, has really come out to condemn the coup and has given a warning, among other sanctions, that power must return to the democratically elected president, or the ECOWAS led by Nigeria will have to apply force to ensure that sanity returns back to that country. And this has generated mixed feelings in the country, with most Nigerians condemning Nigerians' involvement in the crisis in Benin, in Niger Republic. Some say that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is actually fiddling like Nero while Rome is on fire. Well, Doctor, what do you think about the situation? Nigerians are not comfortable with Nigeria's involvement in Niger Republic, where the military has taken over the realms of power. Tinubu, in his capacity as chairman of ECOWAS, actually doing all he can to end the coup in Niger. But back home, the current hardship the citizens are facing is making most of them to think that it's a wild goose chase for the president to think of pulling the country's resources to quell the crisis in that country, while in his own country, the crisis of hunger, a hike in fuel price, and the astronomical rise in the price of foodstuffs, it's actually telling negatively on the city. What do you think about the situation? This is not the renewed hope we will expect from President Tinubu.
Let me thank you for inviting me, and let me stress that I am a strong supporter of President Ahmed Tinubu for the little actions we've seen in the last 2 months. Give us a roadmap into what we should expect and how we can get out of the doldrum we find ourselves that was not caused by him in the first place. The removal of fuel subsidy is overdue, and it ended with the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari. It was stated loud and clear 6 months into the expiration of that regime. So, as a new administration coming up on power, fortunately under the same party, these issues was inherited. And since there was no budgetary allocation for its sustenance, the government must come up with a strategic thinking on ways and means through which it can galvanize the hard options it met on the ground to be able to run its administration successfully. And we know that when the issue of subsidy came into being, it was to serve as an interim measure for 6 months to allow Kaduna, Port Harcourt refinery, and that of Warri to be recapitalized to perform optimally. But some bureaucrats, in collaborations with their allies, hijacked the process and saw avenue of making the country dry. And this is where we find ourselves. So since he is not the cause of the problem, rather, he has taken mantle of leadership to provide solution to the problem. And there can be pain without gains, and there can be gains without pain. We must give a price to what is happening. We must be grateful to the Creator that this time around we're having a leadership that has the intellectual capacity, that has the international exposure, that understand the dynamics in the oil sector, that have practiced with ExxonMobil over years as financial accountants or controller, as the case may be, and a tested politicians, a career one for that matter, and his legacy is unshakable. To this extent, I have no doubt that what Nigeria need to do with these divine gifts of President Tinubu at this material time, we are within the Red Sea. Whether we collapse or we can resuscitate ourselves and then pick the pieces to rejuvenate the state again. It's a very dicey situation that we find ourselves. We must once again thank him for Nigerians giving him that mandate freely in through the ballot box to become the president of this country. But having said this, we've seen the policy thrust of this administration under his leadership, and is continuously feeding Nigerians intermittently through broadcast and media engagements of what the benefits of the transformation of the oil and gas sector should be, and where Nigerians should be taken to from the ballot state we find ourselves, political situation we find ourselves, to a more comfortable, stable economy, to a more aggressive investment and development in that sector, to a more stable Nigerians where the youth will have opportunity to display their talents, their potentials, and then there will be rejuvenation of massive unemployment, both in the formal sector and informal sector, and then the economy will be shaped and rejuvenated for the benefit of all. But the price we need to pay is patience. That price cannot be taken away by anybody, and nobody can placate it, because the 8 years of his predecessor with the ministers that were entrenched for 8 years as if they are civil servants has caused more harm than good. And that will not happen in this administration. I can tell you that.
Thank you, Dr. Jabi. Nigerians actually, from their own point of view, are not actually against the removal of fuel subsidy. There is a congruence of opinion that yes, fuel subsidy is a scam,
and it's an
that
evil.
has robbed the country. A conduit pipe where most people have enriched themselves to the detriment of the great mass of Nigerians.
Exactly.
But what Nigerians are saying is that in doing that, the president would have shown his skills in governance by hitting the ground running, not just by removing the fuel subsidy instantly. He would have at least put measures on ground to cushion the effect the removal of this fuel subsidy would cause the citizens before going ahead. The thinking is that it is something you are working towards, then towards December this year, say, okay, fuel subsidy is gone. And just like Nigeria,
It's entrapped.
but
Mr. President is entrapped.
the policy of Mr. President actually is telling very, very much in the country. And most Nigerians feel that this is not what they actually bargained for in voting him into power.
Let me tell you, the police somersault in an attempt to get the Nigerian state out of mood economically, socially, politically. We have to appreciate the fact that somebody is ready to risk his life, display his acumen, display his expertise to reshape the sorry state we are. And that should be what we'll be thanking God for. The brand of Nigerian democracy has been bad leadership and corruption systemic. And today, somebody said, no, I know where those challenges are and I'm going to address it. And he has started. What has been accrued in the last 2 months was announced during the broadcasts. And imagine if we do that for the next 6 months, we have been able to pay most of our external debts and begin to see hope and renew hope, like he captioned it. And then Nigeria will begin to see that after pain, there will be ease and there will be happiness and everybody will be on the same page. But all of us, we are part and parcel, directly or indirectly, part of the problem that Nigeria state is going through. So, and we must endure to ensure that we give this administration a lifeline to exhibit the best of intention to salvage the situation. And I can tell you that those who understand the dynamics of the new administration knows that this is a tough decision. And he didn't hide his feelings when he told Nigeria before inauguration and at the inauguration spot that is going to take a very strong, tough decision for us to be reshaped back so that Nigeria can have the dream, the country of their own dream. And that is where we are moving to. This transformation is gradual. The process is gradual. but we are sure of the destination, and the destination is win-win for all Nigerian citizens and all Nigerian youths and women alike.
How can you be so sure of a destination, Dr. Jabi, when at the end of the day, the current administration hit the ground running by introducing policies that are inflicting hardship on the citizens? And besides, this is a government that campaigned vigorously on certain particular kind of agendas, including the wriggling out the country from the economic morass it has been enmeshed in.
Is that not what he's doing now?
Combating insecurity.
Is he not doing it now? Has he not changed the architecture of the state security now?
Do we start that by causing untold hardship to the citizens?
You see, the missing link here.
They die before
The missing link here.
the dividends of democracy.
The missing link here is the fact that the immediate past administration failed to do its own part of the bargaining. Because knowing fully that 6 months into the exit of that administration of Muhammadu Buhari, certain succor and what I would call relief materials should have been put in place for the new administration to take over from. But there was nothing exactly on the ground for this administration to hang on to, because there was no even provisional allocation for the last 6 months of the last administration on the issue of subsidy engagements. So the decision is very tough, like he said. He wish he has other options better than what we're seeing now. But he has scouted, do not see any than the one we have. And he's appealing to Nigerians to bear the pay. It's temporal. It's a temporary pay. By the end of the year, before the first quarter of next year, Nigeria will start singing different songs. It's unfortunate that this pain will all have to pass through it. I'm not happy with it. Neither is my family comfortable with it. I tell you, from Mina to come here today to attend this your program, on fall alone, I've spent over 40,000 naira. Between September to December last year, when I was coming for your show here, it was just 5,000 naira that was spent to go and cut. So you can see the depreciation of our currency as a result of these fuel scams, which only privileged few in that sector are enjoying it. But today we are seeing the accruing benefits of the last 2 months if they have good engagement with the media and massive reorientation like we have in the days of MAMSA. That national orientation is pumped and they bring the experts together to galvanize better explanation to the downtrodden who do not know the dynamics that's playing out now. Are you getting me now? And they're complaining. Yes, they need to complain, but the fault is not his. And they have not stolen Nigerian money in the last 2 months. So you can see what's on the ground. For those who know what government is about, I'm privileged to listen to one of your guests in the morning here. What he's saying, it is a necessary transformation that the leadership of Tinubu has brought to bear in reshaping the Nigerian state and positioning it for economic, social, and political competitiveness, including security. And I'm very happy to say this, that even the security sector, apart from rejigging the security architecture and the leadership, you are seeing results now. Can you now compare the last 2 months to what has happened in the last 7, 8 years within 2 months? And more will still be done. So very soon Nigeria will go to bed with their 2 eyes closed. Wow. Because the man is on top of the game. He has the roadmap and is making sure that he executes his plan according to his conception for the benefit of Nigerians.
Well, just like you just said, and there is this nexus of understanding that yes, the president would have come as harsh as these policies are. They could possibly be meant to turn the fortunes of the country for good, and most Nigerians have chosen to bear the brunt of the very, very harsh situation some of the policies like this fuel subsidy removal has cost.
It is inevitable.
Like, they would have been patient, and they are now patient as they are to wait and see the palliatives the president will actually roll out, just like he promised.
He has announced in the last 1 week.
Yes, just like
You know, the gestation period between conception and birth take time.
Just like they were waiting, they are waiting to see those palliative things rolled out.
It will be rolled out.
There is this distraction now where the attention of the government has now focused on the crisis in Benin Republic, where
Benin having crisis.
Niger Republic, sorry, that's a slip of tongue.
Yes, I understand.
In Niger Republic, where the
military
junta has toppled the
democratically elected government
and Tinubu in his capacity as
the chairman of ECOWAS
is actively involved.
He must be involved.
He's getting set to pull Nigeria's resources to fight the military junta in that country in order to restore the democracy.
Let me correct an impression too.
Nigerians feel that it is a distraction because it amounts to the president feeling like Nero while Rome is on fire.
Let me correct an impression here that Nigeria is not standing alone as a nation in the committee of global players. We are the giant of Africa. By all rights, size, land, resources, human capital, name them. So, if democracy is what they've resolved to deepen in each of the member states, and today, failure of leadership in successive countries has resulted to military incursion into the political space. The different arrangements altogether is unfortunate, but they have instruments in ECOWAS to ensure that they check it. Well, if the past leadership,
you can agree with me that there's no way that will happen. We have a good part of Nigeria's resources going into that particular.
Let me tell you, that's why I gave you the example that we're not in isolation. They have common purse. ECOWAS has a common purse, and they contribute funds, wealth into the common purse. It's being determined by head of government of every nation in that union. So the issue of Nigerian money must be there. It's not only Nigerian money that is there. But it's not Nigeria that is the.
From past experience, you would have known that. Like we know of the ECOMOG of those days.
Yes.
When they go the restoration of peace in places like Liberia and the rest. And we know what Nigeria spent in South Africa during apartheid. Nigeria was actively involved. Pulling all the resources and playing the big brother role.
No.
Most Nigerians are angry that after doing this, most of this country will turn around and spite us.
No, let me tell you.
Xenophobic experience in South Africa.
It is leadership failure.
The maltreatment of Nigerian traders in Ghana.
It is leadership failure on part of successive governments. If we're able to use force, as the case may be, or diplomatic approach to resolve Niger issue, which can be resolved. What's the population of Niger? And who are the military juntas there that are raising shoulder? If Obasanjo can use his experience to move the president of this country?
Sierra Leone?
No. Satomi.
And
move to that place and install the president back and ask the military to go back to Barak, and they did. Who is able not to do the same? Who is not to do the same? So it depends on leadership. What we have after Obasanjo is leader leadership in Nigeria as head of government. And some of them are not sensitive to some of those things. There is no way Nigeria today, the new foreign policy of Nigeria, if we go to put resources to liberate any country in crisis, we must take full advantage of the business opportunity of that country. It's no longer playing the role of a big brother, as it were. That is when Nigeria was booming. Resources were there. Today we are starving for resources to survive as Nigerian nationality. So nobody going to put his wealth where you know how we say today. So the foreign policy has changed. That is just by the way. But I can tell you that the issue in Niger will be resolved very soon, because most Nigerians who are equally having one leg in Niger have been there to discuss their matter. Because if Niger erupted, then Nigeria must sit well to know where they are heading to.
Well, how soon will this issue be resolved? Because naturally, the delegation sent by President Tinubu, led by former head of state General Abdullahi Abubakar, and the Sultan of Sokoto, were in Niger, where
they are still there.
Where they held talks with the leaders of the military junta.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the meeting ended in a deadlock because the leaders remained adamant.
No problem.
And at the end of the day, we are even seeing a situation where most of the people from that country are even challenging Nigerian government to the extent of even saying that the Tinubu administration is not even a democratically elected government because it came to power through election rigging.
That is
that humiliation.
That is no, it's not humiliation. It's a political statement by stalwarts of Nigerian agents who have interest in partisan actions. We are out of partisan actions in Nigeria. So if they are still in the residual effects aftermath of election and want to use every opportunity at their disposal to disclaim an election that was free and fair and that won, hands down as it is, no any external country cannot determine our election. This election is a subject of litigation. Let's wait to see the outcome of the court on this matter. So as far as we are concerned, we have a legitimate government in place. So if anybody is insinuating they are agents of those who have not been able to put themselves together from the shock of what they had from that election, because it has come, it has gone. We are talking about governance now. So nobody should create Nigerian issue with Niger Republic that is up to Kano as a state or Sokoto as a state. And you know that people that will threaten us, they can't.
Well, thank you. And on a final note, let's just look at the palliatives being rolled.
The arrangement
to roll out.
They started moving the grades
on
the strategic game reserve.
It started with saying that about 12 million households will be getting about 8 million.
No, the decision has been jettisoned. It has been jettisoned for more pragmatic, more approachable, more inclusive governance participation. And that is why they deregulate the power to go to the governors, to the states and the local governments to do it, because they know their people very well. They know where the problem is. They know their terrain. So they should be able to handle it the way they want to handle it, instead of using the federal might to start thinking of what to do with it, because the original list is sided. It's not a clinical list that is true to type presentation of the poor families in Nigeria. So I think it's taking shape, and the state government has been giving marching order to, from the money that has been located to them now, to go down to make sure that a palliative in whatever way they can do it in their states is being done to reduce the hardship Nigerians are facing and they are going through. He sympathizes with us. It's not his fault, neither your fault. This is the terrible situation we find ourselves, because we refuse to be sensitive to the corrupt leaders of yesterday, and today's leaders are carrying the brunt of the challenge. But it's surmountable as it is now. What's surmountable?
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Jabi, for actually addressing the big issue. Well, there is still hope, according to our very special guest here in the studio, Dr. Abdullahi Mohammed Jabi, a human rights activist and chairman campaign for democracy, human rights advocacy, civil society of Nigeria, North Central Zone. Well, he has said it, that there is hope, and that the president's intention is to wriggle the country out of the economic morass it is enmeshed in, and it's beginning with very tough policies that are not so palatable for Nigerians. But just like the president himself said, and a very strong supporter of the president here, Dr. Jabi, is actually saying that things will actually get better. Well, that is a puzzle for you and I as the days go by, with the appointment of ministers. By the time the government takes off fully, let's see how this translates into a better economy for the country, how it translates into a better living condition for Nigerians. This is the much we can take for today's edition of The Big Issue. And of course, I will not fail to thank our viewers out there for keeping tab with us. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.